This is BayRadio.
This is BayRadio then at 10:14 mainland Spain, 9:14 the UK and the Canaries. And delighted to welcome back Ignacio from Pellicer Heredia. There's another couple of weeks flown by. And thank you for coming back in, because I know you're busy. You have to travel quite a bit to get here as well sometimes.
That's right. Good morning, Moody. Yes, we just driving all over the province, and to schedule these is quite accurate, actually.
But it's worth you doing these, I think, because we do get a good response, and we hear from plenty of people and their genuine concerns. Particularly expats at the moment. With that in mind, you, of course, Pellicer Heredia, Alicante lawyers.es, so international lawyers based on the Costa Blanca, but able to represent just about everywhere. What I wanted to mention first, because we covered, I think the last couple of times we got a lot of focus on residency issues and visas, that sort of thing. But not everyone gets accepted, of course. They've applied for their TIE. What happens when they get rejected?
Yeah,
that's where you come in, I suppose, because you need to take it to court and appeal.
Yes, that's basically correct. Actually, in the old days, people didn't think that was a possibility, and it was very unlikely to have it rejected. Now, the problem we had was that there is a due date. And unfortunately, they're getting stricter and stricter. That doesn't mean they're correct, because, as you know, Moody, this is just police station, Extranjería Foreign Office. They are administration, and they just make a decision on our criteria. But we need to understand that this criteria has to be followed by the applicable law of Extranjería, right, which is quite strict, quite square. And if they don't attend to reasons or something sensible, it will have to be contested. Now, the procedure that we're following now, because I don't know if you heard, Moody, but there is a lot of people that are being rejected. Probably because they lodge it late, or because there is an issue. The first thing I would like to say to these people: try to lodge it and enforce your rights, as simple as that, because the Extranjería office might be wrong. For example, one common problem we're having, and I'm seeing a lot, is padron.
Right.
Padron, people who was living in Spain didn't register on the padron before the 31st of December. Okay, that's something which I completely disagree. I've been talking to different people, some professors as well, about their interpretation and things, and they consider that's completely wrong. But please just reject the application, the Extranjería. So what they need to do is appeal the decision, and they have two options, Moody. They have 30 days to natural days to appeal the decision. So they will the police will review the application. Once they review the application, they will get back to them, which is likely to say similar argument. And then you've got the option to take it to the High Court in Alicante, because that's the only option. I mean, if people are in the Alicante province, it will be Alicante. If people are in Malaga, then Malaga and Murcia. So every different province has their own tribunal. It's Contencioso Administrativo, which is administrative high court in the province. And my experience personally, and then you will need a barrister and a court runner to represent you to take it further. We've been having a lot of experience with these kind of cases, and the reason why, Moody, is because we've been doing this immigration department for many years prior to British. So you could understand some people from United States, Australia, and they have these problems. So you end up, there is two different tribunals. The one, if you are applying for a visa from abroad, you go through the Spanish consulate, let's say now in the UK, United States, whatever country, okay. And then if it's rejected, then you need to do the same, appeal before the consulate in Spain, before Extranjería, and then after that, the difference is if you're abroad, is in Madrid. The High Court is in Madrid.
Okay.
And the one here, which is probably the existing problems that we're having, people not having the insurance in place. I don't know what kind of comments you had on the audience, but basically was padron.
We've had one or two where it's not been. Maybe people have got private health insurance, but it's not suitable. Some of them aren't acceptable to the police. The policies.
Probably, I just might consider it that coverage was not extended enough. Was not wide enough. It needs to have the same coverage of the Social Security.
Right.
So, but it's very specific, and I think this is as simple as you speaking to the provider. The health insurance and say, I need it for this purpose and it needs to be covered. So through their legal representative, they need to make sure that the insurance is the one that is really for living in Spain.
Yes, I think many of the insurance companies have made sure that they are, making that clear that this is suitable for residency. Yeah.
So, but the main unfair and I consider it unreasonable reason here is a patron. I mean, the patron doesn't prove you are resident. The patron is just a proof or an evidence that there is a good way to prove that you're living here, but it's not the only one. So what I'm doing now, Moody, for those clients who came the very last minute, didn't have the chance because you remember patrons in the town hall were very busy, COVID and things, and they couldn't make it, which I consider unreasonable as well to say now, you don't get the TIE because of the patron. Now what I'm doing, and I encourage people to do the same, is to bring all the evidence that you were resident here in Spain. For example, utility bills, neighbours, witness statements that you've been living here. Just if you had the children to put these children to school, statement from the director, head teacher. You
whatever you can do. Yeah.
Whatever you could do, because now is the time for you to say, okay, I don't have the patron for different reasons, but that doesn't mean I was not resident.
Okay.
And if they could take all this evidence before the Extranjería office for them to consider it, I think that will be the way forward. Or alternatively, what they could do is take the case straight away to the courts.
Right.
And I feel quite positive that they will be successful. Okay, I know it is costing money, it takes time. The average time Moody is taking for a court case, it will be an average of a year, minimum of a year.
Wow, yeah.
What I will recommend people to ask as well for a measure are not being deported. So when you make the application, there is a preliminary measure that you apply to the courts to say you're in the process, so you cannot be deported by any reasons. So that's what we call medida cautelar, which is a preliminary measure. And then you have the other one. So it's important advice.
Yes, I think I did ask you that last time. I think it was the last time you were in and said, what happens if you're waiting, if it's taking a year? What do you do in the meantime? Can you stay?
Yeah.
Because you might not be able to come back.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If you go back, you might not be allowed back in.
That's right. I wouldn't recommend them to leave. I would recommend them, if possible. But that will be probably the fastest, probably, depending on their case, I would probably not even take it to Extranjería. I will take it straight away to court. Because otherwise you're going to waste another 2 or 3 months with nothing in your hand.
Yeah.
This way, if you lodge the case through the administrative court in Alicante here, then you could apply for a measure for you to stay here while it's being resolved. And the good thing on the hearing, Moody, you could bring witnesses. I mean, I do encourage people to have witness statements, even take it to the notary, etc., etc. But even if you want to bring on the day of the hearing, which it doesn't have to be a hearing, but I think I will recommend to have a hearing so people could make clear that you've been living here in Spain for this and this, period. But it's very important. All these things I'm saying here, Moody, is very important because it's crucial for a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you get the idea that, I'm taking the airports particularly as an example, that there is still a bit of confusion about what is acceptable and what isn't? So if you're dealing with even like individual police officers, they may not have, there may be something that comes up and think, well, that's not what we need. But in actual fact, it is acceptable.
Do you mean flying over to Alicante? it?
Yes, maybe, yeah. I mean, they've been let on the plane, obviously, in England, perhaps, for example, but then get to Spain and say, no, this is not good. It's
right.
not good enough.
To get to Spain here, you need the Residencia, the green one, or just a TA.
Yeah.
Right. These two will be more than enough.
But but if you don't have those, the embassy did say that if you've got enough proof,
yes,
that maybe you've got your application in, a letter from your lawyer, but those have been turned away at some time.
Yes, I mean correct. Yeah, there is no, as you said, there is not a specific thing, and then the unfortunate thing is you need to be relying on who's going to be the policeman, who's going to look to your paperwork, because he's going to do his criteria or his boss or whatever. Yes, I've done some letters to my clients to come over here. They didn't have a problem. That doesn't mean that they could have a problem one day because now in Comunidad Valenciana, because of COVID, we blocked. And this is one of the reasons if you fly over and you don't have a reason, like a resident reason, you're not allowed to come. So that's the way where we are.
Yes.
But yes, I will recommend them to speak to their lawyer if the lawyer deals with immigration. If not, I'm happy to even answer to their questions if I could be of help.
I did invite questions, and I had Maxine come through, who has got a son, he's 23, abroad at the moment, actually in Japan, and asking about his residency. Can they apply? Both parents are residents here in Spain, so they're sorted. But can they apply on his behalf at 23 years old? He may be having trouble getting back into Spain. Right.
The first thing is if the parents are British and they've got their TIE and they are protected under the withdrawal agreement, then they will eventually qualify to apply for paperwork, but based on family grouping. The problem I find here, Moody, is that he's 23 and the protection is up to 21, and if you're over, you need to prove he's a dependent. So the application will have to be made by him. I mean, for example, we could do it on his behalf through the online, but he will need to come over here for the fingerprint and everything. Okay. The key of this case will be proving he's really a dependent. So the key of the case will be financial. So transfers from parents to him living abroad, because that's the only way forward.
Sure. I believe, from what I know, he has lived here before, maybe even went to school here. Would that make any difference? Right.
Okay, well, a good question is whether he probably had the padron and he proved he was resident. But I don't think, because he was in Japan and probably, it will be very hard. I think the best way forward is family grouping and to prove he's a dependent. Failing that, the only option he will have is to apply for a student visa from the Spanish consulate. And it will be quite straightforward, but it's really to study, and then you could renew that visa, and even if you need to work, you could apply for that. There is another type of visa, arraigo, right, which I could be thinking of, but is a lot, Moody, about paperwork. So it's really, we need to sit down and see what they have in their hands, what kind of evidence they have to prove he was really a resident, because after 3 years being a resident in Spain, you can still apply for social ties.
Right.
But you need to have the padron, you need to have a lot of evidence, a lot of evidence to apply for that. But that's a different type of residencia, which is arraigo.
Okay.
We didn't touch that because that's the complex one. This is one the rest of them didn't work. But yes.
But it's an option, yes. And with the details are on the dedicated website, aren't they? Visasspain.today, which
that's
we've
correct.
mentioned a few times.
We're uploading here a lot of information about visas. And my advice to everyone who's listening is for them, if they're living in Spain, to register on the padron, because it's bureaucracy, as simple as that. It's just a way for you to prove you're being in the system, even through the tax system. And you never know, but that kind of evidence will be very useful. Some people thought the padron was not probably very important, and now you are finding out all these obstacles that the administration just put onto you, which doesn't mean they're right, but they give you more hassle. So if you're living in Spain, try to register Padron. Doesn't happen. It doesn't matter whether you leave later on and deregister. But I think it's about protecting rights, and I think it's good for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last couple we've done, as I say, covered a lot of the visa stuff and residency. So if you want to look back on those, they're on our website, BayRadio.fm, or follow the link to Pellicer and Heredia. So should we get on to taxes then? Because this is something you said we should mention. We're in that period now, aren't we? Up into June.
Yes, actually, I would like to send reminders to people because I get a lot of questions, and I think it's always important to do summaries. People now with residencias, they need to make sure and understand when are they becoming tax resident in Spain, what day is the starting date to become tax resident in Spain. Spain will not put you into the system until 6 months after you have your residencia. Okay, the tax office doesn't allow you. I cannot connect somebody into the system unless their residencia is being already more than 6 months.
Okay.
Two important things I will tell you, pieces of advice for you to use in the future. One, try to inform the UK that you left Spain. So when you come over to Spain, trying to contact the Inland Revenue to tell them that you are no tax code anymore. Okay? Try to comply with their requirements. And there is one form, which is the FD9 form, which you will fill in here, which you do in English and Spanish. You send it off to the UK, and they will put you into a system where you are no tax code. So they will give you the money back from the date you are registered here in Spain. This is catch-22. You will not be able to fill in this form unless you go to the tax office, and the tax office will not allow you until 6 months. So first, residencia. Second, fiscal certificate saying you're in the system in Spain. 3, FD9 form, which is the form you fill in. You could download it, or I could send them to them. To comply Spanish and English, stand by the tax office in Spain, and then you send it off to the UK to deregister over there, so you don't pay double, the dual taxation treaty. Right? That's very important. And then if you have a lot of issues about doing these things by the book, you should be fine, okay? Then once you've got that and you went through all this process and you are in a calendar year, in Spain it goes from January to December.
Yes, they do it. It's a sensible way, and it's easy to remember. It's not the April to April thing like in the UK.
Yes, and that's the only thing that some people might have questions about. I'm registered here, I'm registered there. But bottom line here, Moody, after the 1st of July, if you came and arrived here, you will be less than 183 days in Spain.
Yes.
So that basically proves, and now, especially with passport controls, etc., it's very easy to prove you're a non-resident. Mm-hmm. So people coming after July and staying for long will be non-resident for this year, 2021.
Yes, for the rest of the year, of course, after July, yeah.
Then you've got residencia, let's say, for those who are applying now for visas. They're coming over. I always say to them, depending on the time you're going to come here and arrive, it will really determine whether you're going to become a tax resident. Let's say you are a tax resident this year, and then next year you need to do from January to March the 720, if applicable, and then from April to June, where we are now, is the tax return. Okay.
Yes.
If you, I know it's a thick subject, and I did put an article in our website. If you go into Pellicer Heredia.com or alicanteLawyers.es.
That's the one, yeah.
It will convert you straight. And it says, if you click here, it says what we do, taxes, and then you have Modelo 720, La Renta, and taxes in Spain. I recommend them to read because it's quite specific about this year. Every year we update it because it's different. But just the bottom line for them to know. If they are receiving money from abroad as an income over 14,000 euros, let's say pension, Moody, I have 1, 2, 3 pensions, over 14,000 euros, you're obliged, if you only receive that, you're obliged to declare it if you go over. If you go below, you don't have to, but might be worth it, even though it's a zero tax return, might be worth it to prove, because there's another document to prove for residency and things like that.
Yeah, that you filed that.
That you are a resident in Spain. So that's why we insisted a lot in the old days. Even people do not comply, or they're not obliged to do the tax return is always good. It's like the padron is a good thing to do.
You're showing something, yeah, even if you don't owe them any money, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then the allowances as well. I just mentioned here, depending on the age, you have some allowances. Some people, I may give you some tips. Even in the blog, you could read a lot of tips about taxes in Spain. Okay?
Yes, I'm just looking at that now. So if on the website, if you go to the blog and just there's a drop-down menu from that as well, where you can go to taxes. Loads of useful articles there for you. And of course, you've got webinars coming up, which we'll talk about in just a while here. But yes, anything to guide you through?
Yes, there is certain things that I could just remind them. I did mention here the percentages, how it works. A lot of people say, how does it work? How do they tax me, etc. I know it's quite complex, but trying to make it simple. You've got the taxable amount 2020 up to 12,450, 19%, and then it goes on depending on your income. Okay, so you've got that sliding scale. And another important thing for them to know is taxable saving amount, okay? Because you are going to be taxing two things, on your income and on savings. Savings, when we talk about savings, always interest or profit on dividends, right? That's important.
Well, you're not getting much interest on savings at the moment, of course, from the banks, but maybe dividends and the like.
Yeah, yes. the pension funds that you put your money, if it grow, and you withdraw money. Now, Moody, it's something important to tell people as well. Be careful when you withdraw money, because they get some, I will say, I don't know if it's conflicting advice or probably just rumours. And a lot of people in the old days did cash the money being tax resident. It's very important they do tax planning, because as a non-resident, you could say, I'm going to Spain, I withdraw money, and I will not pay taxes in the UK, because some of them, they say you don't pay to a certain amount of limit, you don't pay taxes in the UK, but you need to worry as well whether you're going to pay here. If you are a no tax code here in Spain, there is no problem. So let's say you withdraw 50,000 euros because you're planning to buy a property, etc., and you do it while you're a non-resident, that's not taxable here.
Okay,
that's important for people to know. But some people might do it while they're a resident.
Right.
And then here you have the scale.
Yeah.
Here you have the 19, 21, and 23. Depending on the sliding scale. So all these tax planning things is very important. I mean, we've been doing a lot of consulting here, consultation about tax planning, and I think it's the best people could do. I mean, the amount of money you could save only doing it, going to an expert and doing it things, because the good thing of the tax is very square. So you could do it when it's a due date, or you could do it in advance. If you do it in advance, you already have the answer. Yeah. So you could control your finance and do one thing, or not really do what you probably would do. It's like, I'm going to withdraw money. Well, probably, is it good for you? Or how much are you going to pay? Yeah,
so you know in advance.
It's planning, is I think is quite important for them to do.
Could you just run over the rates again? Sorry, so it's up to 12,500, what, 19%?
Yeah, the taxable amount. You talking about the income or the savings?
I guess your income. What's taxable?
Yeah, after 14,000 euros, you're obliged to lodge your. I'm talking about people with pensions, right? Because if you're working here in Spain, and you're only working for one employee, they always tax you at source. So in Spain, if you're working here, you're being taxed at source. So if you only have one boss, and you don't reach 22,000 euros, since you're being taxed on a monthly basis, you're not obliged. Now, be careful.
That's if you're on contract, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Be careful here, because some people say, well, I'm not obliged to do my tax return. Well, probably you're due a rebate. A lot of people are having a rebate based on their personal circumstances. Let's say you work, but your wife doesn't, and your wife is giving you all the allowances to you, and they're taxing you high, which has been quite common here on certain cases. Let's say teachers. Teachers, they just come from abroad, come over here. They don't know much about these things. And I just had even teachers that are leaving. Some teachers, they left. Actually, I'm dealing with one case. They said, well, no, I'm not going to do the tax, even though I was tax resident, because I'm not anymore here. I said, well, first you need to do, because you were tax resident, even though you left on the 4th of July. So you were more than 183. And two, you're being taxed at source here. You're being taxed by your employer. and probably you do a rebate, and she's getting 4,800 euros rebate. So it's important.
Yes, I'll tell you one thing the Brits particularly noticed when they do switch to paying tax in Spain is the allowance is a lot lower for individuals. We're talking like 5,500 around there. Has it changed?
Yes, I agree. If you live here, if you read the article, you will see the allowance I did publish. They're not very much. The minimum 5,500 euros. Then when you go on 65, it goes 6,700, but you had an extra 2,000 euros allowance if you're receiving money from pensions.
Right.
So the hard bit here is a minimum 5,500 for people like you and me that work, which is very low. If you have children, you have an extra allowance. If your wife or your husband doesn't work, then you have an extra allowance. It's based in Spain. It's based on personal circumstances, and in the UK, I think there is a minimum threshold here.
It's like 12,500 per individual and a single person. Yeah,
probably the life over there is a bit more expensive. And,
I guess so.
But yes, I mean, I will definitely prefer a lower one. A better treatment from the tax office.
Could you see that changing to encourage more people maybe trying to become self-employed? I know they're looking at the autonomo payments, but maybe if the single person's threshold was put up a little bit, it might encourage more people to take things on.
Well, the thing is, today I watched on the news that Pedro Sanchez was publishing 236 measures within 6 years. I really don't know whether they are doing something about entrepreneurs. Probably you'll be able to read it. I haven't had time to read it today.
Yeah.
But I just hope they try to promote people. Self-employed is the motor of the economy. And I really believe they should be more flexible with taxes. I definitely...
Especially with young people, because that's where the problem is, isn't it, with unemployment? What do they do?
Yes.
And sometimes it is prohibitive,
yes.
Going autonomo.
Autonomo is prohibited. I always say, even though now there is a system that you have the 50 euros doing 6 months, and then at least it's something.
Yeah.
But it's very square, because you end up paying 280. And to be honest, how much I know you cover that with 280 something, you will cover your health, your further pension if you carry on working, and then the family health. If you are 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. So, Moody is not really equal. Let's put it this way: an autonomo, a young guy who start to put out a business, just even teaching. I have some teachers. I want to teach some Spanish or English. It's not even worth it to get register yourself because it costs you money.
Yeah.
And this is what they haven't thought, or probably I don't know what they're thinking of. Because we really need to help the economy from the basis, from the real basis. And the real basis people trying to create jobs, work. And that's what I think we are a bit square with the system. I mean, 285, okay, it could be a lot of money for one that starts. It could be a lot of, very little for one who's doing very well. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone paying the same. It's a drop in the ocean for some people.
Yes,
but
yes.
As you say, it does cover a lot. But if you can work up to that, but it's sometimes, especially recently when times have been tough. I know you get help, but still, it's a lot to pay each month.
Yeah, I think they should encourage the entrepreneurs, the self-employed people. Who's the motor? I mean, you go around here, pretty much. Everyone will be self-employed, the bars, the restaurants.
Well, they had to put, I think the bars did have to put the people on contract because they did go around and inspect.
Yes.
There was a lot of inspections.
No, I'm talking the owners.
The owners,
are
right.
Always self-employed.
Yes, yeah,
now, the rest, yes, I agree. The rest, they're on contracts. Yeah, that is definitely. But most of the majority economy, I mean, Spain says 95% is autonomous. That's the figures they bring. So, but no government so far had promoted very much to a point. What you were saying, being very, very reasonable to these people who are starting.
Yeah, is that kind of Spain, having a more traditional outlook, the way things have been, taking time to change to the sort of modern economy and the way things work? Because, you had jobs in the family, maybe they took over the farm or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, maybe that's me being a stereotype thing, but it's You know,
I wouldn't be able to answer why we are so square with this system. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't find it fair to either party, because they could think, 283. If you want to contribute more, you could contribute more because you could pay extra, or you could do a pension fund.
Yeah.
But I'm just more on people who are creating jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, what about these people? People moving from abroad, starting from zero. What about these people? I think they should pay. And no government, even with the real estate, boom and things like that, even when we were doing good, I haven't seen
incentives
right. Good enough, and today is being, I don't know, it could be probably great that they are informing now of all these measures. I will hope so. They're giving, I don't know how many millions to the touristic sector.
Yes.
You'll watch on the news today, they say is one of the biggest planned ever. We'll see.
We shall have it in our Spanish news later,
yes,
no doubt.
One
thing that I was going to mention, because it's come up recently, is if you do maybe deregister from the UK, start paying tax in Spain, might be worth, especially if you'd been there a while, keeping up your national insurance payments back in the UK towards your pension, because that, when you retire, it's a handy little bonus, 9,000 and something a year.
Yes.
If you leave off, you'll get a certain amount, but it won't be the maximum amount. And it's not a lot, the national insurance, a couple of pounds a week or month or whatever it is. But
I think it's good advice, actually.
And you can build up to your Spanish pension and have that as well.
Yeah, you could do planning on your pension. You could have your private pension here through your bank or your financial advisor. You could have the Social Security, which is compulsory and it covers your health, which is the autonomo, or if you're on a contract, whatever, normally the Social Security here, that people pays 37% average of your salary. So it's a lot of money, Moody. It's a lot of money. And then you've got the option to carry on in the UK, and I advise probably to do it because it's always good. It's a good return. I'm not sure whether they will be able to comply with now. They were until the 31st of December. They were unifying the two pensions. You could unify two pensions. I'm not sure whether they will be able to do it afterwards. You'll have to get paid by Spain and in the UK.
Yes, but at least you will be able to get it. Yeah, it'll be able to come this way.
Yes.
Well, if we're talking income tax, then there is a webinar coming up. That's exactly a week's time, isn't it?
Yes.
The 21st.
Yes, we're doing one webinar about taxes because there is a lot, and I think it's good to be early so people do things. I always encourage people to do it, even everything, before the 31st of December every year so they know exactly what they're going to pay. That's good advice because you'll have all the figures. Roughly, you'll have all the figures and you will know exactly how much you'll pay. The thing is, in Spain, we do in April. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same in the UK. You can put your tax return in straight away the next day, after April the 6th, whatever it is. But and it means you've got time to pay the amount you owe.
What I mean, for example, if I'm going to pay X amount of money on tax, there are ways to minimize. For example, this year they did reduce it. This year I'm talking about 2021. 2020, for example, the pensions, you could pay into a pension fund 8,000 euros, so that will minimize your tax. Okay, that's now this year they did reduce up to 2,000 euros to invest into a pension fund, Spanish Plan de Pensiones. Right, and they will give you allowances. So what I'm saying, if there is a way for you to control obviously, if you just get one pension, there is not much you could do because you have no control. But if you have a business, if you could reduce your tax liability, I always recommend it to do it within the year. So let's say 2020, you will do it December. Okay, so you know exactly how much you're going to pay in April. And now, in April, we're talking about 7th of April until the 30th of June, and you could pay your tax in two-stage payments.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So rather than paying it in one chunk.
60% on the 30th,
right,
and 40%. I encourage people to have digital certificate because that makes your accountant much easier to lodge it. You don't need to queue on the tax office, you don't need to queue on the bank, and it's very, very handy and useful. You could get it in the Suma office. Digital certificate, and is always very handy. And yes, Moody, something that I would like to recommend as well the audience is for them, if they think might have an issue with any tax scenario, try to cover yourself having a certificate from the Inland Revenue saying you were a tax resident in the UK or abroad from specific date to specific date. So there is no better way to protect yourself than having a tax certificate from a different country. Tax office in Spain could go backwards 4 years. Right. There is a lot of people that are right in the middle. They spend very few days here, few days there, and sometimes tax office might question yourself, say, why you didn't do your tax return. I always ask to avoid stress, to be prepared and get yourself a certificate to say from 2016 up to 20, I was a tax resident in the UK. So if you ever receive these kind of nasty letters we all receive saying, you have 10 days to tell me these things, you have it in place.
Yes.
But this is for people who might have different international scenarios.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, get stuff done in advance. Don't be like me. There are people that are organised, I gather, out there. So this is next Thursday then. So that is 5 o'clock mainland Spain time, 4 o'clock UK and Canaries. And how do they do it? It's obviously online, a webinar, and they do get the chance to put questions. To yourselves,
I mean, what they need to do, if they go into our website, they will see the live TV. Right?
Yes.
They just need to click live TV, and it says here, income tax webinar for residents in Spain, and then we have the Spanish Golden Visa. That will be the 28th. That's the two coming ones. We do upload them in the website. You'll be able to see them, or the most popular ones that we've been doing in the past. And they could do it as well. They could have the link in Facebook to register. It will be a Zoom conference, and they could send their questions. And if we are able to answer, fine, because we are 1 hour limited.
Yes.
And sometimes you get inundated of questions and you don't get to all of them. But I'm happy to do. I always say tax planning is key. Do a consultation. Tax is general, and you've got it on the website, but your specific scenario is good to discuss it personally with your trusted appointed lawyer or accountant, because it's just for you.
All right, so it is alicantilawyers.es. That will get you to the main website. Actually, there is a pop-up, I think, for that webinar, but if it doesn't come up, then it is live TV. Go to that bit. Give you all the details on how to get involved. That is next Thursday, and then you should say the Golden Visa one the week after. Well, thank you for your time today. Out of time. We're eating into Dougie's show already. We'll have our own little webinar. We'll put this up to watch back to and listen back to online, BayRadio.fm. But have a good couple of weeks. Hopefully see you in a fortnight's time.
Okay, see you soon. Thank you,
Thanks ever so much for that, and thanks for answering the questions that we had in, for anyone that sent stuff in.